Last weekend, I joined a hunting trip with the local villagers. They had often spoken of the wild boars as destructive creatures, since the animals frequently ruined everything they planted. That's why my neighbors hoped I could help reduce the number of wild boars here and limit the damage they cause. As a professional hunter, I'm always ready for the fight. If you're interested in my journey, then what are you waiting for? Let's get started. Around 8 a.m., while following the trail running along the hillside, an unusual rustling sound came from the bushes by the roadside. We froze and observed carefully. A dark figure darted out like lightning. It was an adult wild boar leading its herd, with dozens of them rushing across the road. Without any further hesitation, I fired a series of consecutive shots, taking down 2 right on the spot. However, there were too many of them. Although we couldn't wipe out the whole herd, this was still a very positive result.
What?
Following the traces left by the wild boars, we tried to search for their hiding spot. The sudden appearance of the wild boar made the farmers quite confused. Look at this. That's an impressive trophy. Huge in size, it must weigh over 100 kilograms.
Az daha gel. Gel.
After the impressive trophies in the morning, I became even more excited about this hunting trip. The signal sounded once again. The pack of dogs barked non-stop, causing a wild boar to panic and burst out from the forest. Not missing the opportunity, I quickly pulled the trigger and took down the target with a perfect shot in the blink of an eye. The feeling of victory is now spreading through me non-stop. It's truly amazing. Just a few minutes later, I was already on the mountainside, lying in ambush for another wild boar. As soon as it appeared, my gunshot rang out immediately. The wild boar collapsed and then rolled down the slope. Everything happened quickly, but the final result was beyond expectation. The target was completely taken down. Our fighting spirit was encouraged, and we kept searching without rest. A lone boar ran through the bushes, and I carefully followed its every move. As soon as it entered my sights, I immediately pulled the trigger several times in a row, completely eliminating this destructive creature. But it didn't stop there. I quickly returned to a focused state to search for other wild boars. On the mountainside, my dog was still barking loudly. In a nearby bush, a wild boar was trying to hide, but it was no use. I tried to approach it to take it down more easily. In the moment the boar intended to charge at me, the gun in my hands finished it off just in time.
Kalmış olması lazım.
Even though it was already the end of the day, I still wanted to hunt a few more wild boars.
Çok iyi.
a wild boar suddenly dashed across. I quickly raised my gun and pulled the trigger repeatedly. After that series of shots, my teammates and I managed to take down one more target. Trying to hunt a few more wild boars, we eventually decided to head home. Today's hunt only comes to a temporary close because we will have to continue our efforts in hunting and controlling the wild boar population, bringing a peaceful life to the local people. The video ends here. Did today's hunt get you excited? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to see more thrilling hunts. Goodbye and see you again. The last day of the wild boar control campaign has come. We are determined to conquer the highest peaks, where the wild boars have been thriving and causing a lot of trouble. Their destruction not only affects the crops, but also threatens the lives of local people. Therefore, we decided to kill as many wild boars as possible, so that the people here no longer have to live in fear. How will the confrontation with this monster turn out? Will we be able to complete the mission? Let's follow this dramatic journey to find out the final result. Early in the morning, before the sun had time to rise, a few friends and I were ready for the wild boar hunting trip that we had been waiting for all week. This time the destination was on a hill about 10 minutes drive from the residential area, a perfect place for hunting. The road up the hill was quite bumpy, but it could not discourage us. Starting from the hillside, we gradually moved up. Suddenly, a distinctive sound echoed from afar. The pigs had shiny black fur, large and flexible bodies, and were dragging each other along the forest trail. I looked through the lens of the shotgun, observing every movement of the target. The opportunity came, I held my breath and resolutely pulled the trigger. The shot rang out in the quiet space of the morning, and a large wild boar fell down immediately. That was the first pig on this trip. The battle officially began. I quickly chose for myself the most ideal ambush position. With the terrain being low bushes, it was not difficult for me to find a location of the wild boars. The moment it ran past, I would immediately aim and shoot. From an ambush point, I could observe the surroundings and take down several wild boars in succession. But today's battle has just begun. A few hours later, I changed to another position to wait for the prey. From above looking down the ravine, I could clearly see every movement of the wild boar herd. We could not miss the opportunity. Each person in the group immediately dispersed, each standing in a different position, ready to attack. A large male wild boar separated from the herd. This was my target. I fixed my eyes on the lens, carefully calibrated. A shot rang out, and the boar fell, but it was not an instantaneous defeat. It rushed forward at an unbelievable speed. The wild boar, wounded but still strong, rushed away, trying to escape while its wound was bleeding. I couldn't let it escape. I couldn't let this boar survive. A loud bang rang out, and the boar fell, no longer having the strength to continue. A perfect headshot, ending a dramatic chase. However, the battle was not over yet. The herd of wild boars was still there, with others lurking in the woods, just waiting for an opportunity to counterattack. Everything was going pretty smoothly until we discovered the tracks of a giant wild boar, weighing up to 300 kilograms. Following its trail, we realized that this was the largest, most mature boar we had ever seen. It was no ordinary boar, but a true beast in the world of wild boars. This boar was definitely the leader. I could feel the heat of the confrontation approaching. The atmosphere seemed more tense than ever. When we spotted the boar, it was standing there, looking at us with a wary gaze. It knew we were approaching, and immediately, the boar turned around and charged towards us. I was caught off guard, but as soon as it charged, I quickly aimed at a weak point on the boar's body. A series of shots rang out from our guns. Finally, after a series of accurate shots, the giant wild boar collapsed, ending the dramatic confrontation. After killing the beast, we continued to follow the tracks of the remaining wild boars in the herd. The footprints led us up another hill, where we spotted another wild boar wandering alone. Not missing the opportunity, I quickly engaged and took down the second boar of the trip. Not long after, we spotted another boar moving near the fence area. From my position on the hill, I adjusted my gun, aiming straight at the target. A shot hit the boar right in the chest, ending a tough day of hunting. As the sun began to set, we had killed a total of 4 wild boars, including a giant weighing up to 300 kilograms. Although we were tired, we were proud of having had a very successful hunting trip. Wild boars, a wild animal that not only causes huge economic losses, but also threatens the environment and ecosystem. They reproduce at a dizzying speed, destroy crops, devastate forests, and cause heavy losses to farmers. In particular, they also have the ability to adapt quickly to all living conditions, making their control a huge challenge. Therefore, a comprehensive plan has been drawn up to prevent the invasion of this animal. The plan was implemented not only based on weapons, but also on the sophistication in setting traps and tracking the movements of wild boars. Everything was ready, and the dramatic hunt began. That day, we arrived at the meeting point. This was a large area of land where wild boars often appeared. I began to check the surrounding area, looking for traces of wild boars. Large, deep pig footprints imprinted on the wet ground led me to an area near a dense bush. This was where they often visited. After identifying the familiar paths of the pigs, I decided to set traps at these strategic points. The traps were cleverly designed, effectively capturing wild boars without causing harm to them. To attract them, I used corn and wheat as bait. The scent of these baits is irresistible to the wild boars. To ensure that the surveillance goes smoothly, I also placed some infrared cameras near the traps so that I can observe the movements of the wild boars at night. Once the traps were set, I moved to the neighboring area, where I could easily observe any movements without being detected. The whole team sat waiting, concentrating, preparing for the next attack. Using the remaining bait, I spread them out on an open field, then climbed a nearby tree to hide and wait. In my hand was the Henry carbine, a gun that stood out thanks to its fast-firing mechanism, ease of use, and powerful damage. 1 hour passed. At this time, I discovered a mature wild boar weighing about 90 kilograms approaching. Little did it know that this would be its last meal. I did not hesitate, raised my gun, aimed accurately, and pulled the trigger. The shot rang out. The wild boar collapsed to the ground. The remaining ones panicked and ran away, running in different directions. The chase began. I signaled to the team members, each taking charge of an area, coordinating closely to ensure that no one was left behind, while I continued to track and shoot down the large wild boars. The smaller ones quickly rushed into the dense bushes, trying to escape. However, with the speed and accuracy of the team members, they could not escape. Each shot was carefully calculated. A large male wild boar, with shiny black fur and sharp tusks, was taken down after an extremely accurate shot. I felt nervous, but also proud when I saw the spoils I had collected. After completing the chase, we went back to check the trap we had set earlier. I was quite surprised by the number of wild boars stuck in the trap. They were all large, adult animals. We handled each one carefully, making sure not to harm them when removing them from the trap. These wild boars weighed between 80 and 120 kilograms, with long, sharp tusks and bulging muscles. They were valuable trophies, but they also caused terrible destruction to the surrounding environment. After several hours of intense fighting, together with the trap I had set the night before, we had brought down more than 40 wild boars. Quite an impressive result. However, this number was still nothing compared to the huge number of wild boars in the area. Wild boars reproduce very quickly, and if left unchecked, they will continue to destroy crops, causing great damage to farmers. We know that, although we have controlled it somewhat, without a long-term and sustainable plan, the invasion of wild boars will never end. Thank you for following this journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next videos.